Hello everyone. I am so sorry to be late. Just as I went to click on start the live stream, Facebook decided that it was time to update and move around, so I couldn't get in. But we're in and we're here. So if you had trouble finding me and you were like, what's happened? I had not forgotten. I had everything prepared, my cake, my drinks, books, everything. But there we are. Facebook had other ideas. So welcome to this book launch. It seems forever ago that I did one, and technically it is. It's been 2 years since I published Burrowed. So we haven't had a party for 2 years, and I had to actually really dig deep down in my memory to see what we did for book launches. So one of the things that will always be here, mainly because my children will remind me, is the cake, the book cake. Which, you can't have a book launch without a cake. So there we are. We have the cake. And I have some nice drinks and the book. Now you will see, I hope you can see it the right way around because mine is mirror image. But as you can see, I don't know how many of you have followed it on my feed. Which has been rather relentless for the last days. I do apologise, but having a book out is so exciting. I got the book organised, uploaded, published, and I ordered a box of author copies, and they were already on the way. And then Richard said, "I think the print is different." No, I've kept the same font, same colour, same size. He's like, "No, it's different. Maybe it's all capitals." And I was like, You're right. Because the previous two books, Beyond the Hills and Walled City, as you can see, they are all capitals. And Downstream isn't. Well, not yet. When you order your copy online, like Amazon, any bookshop, anywhere you go to, yours will be in capitals too. Mine haven't come through yet, so I still have the book box with extremely original covers. So I have 24 of those, 23 because I've given one to Richard. So if you want an extremely original, badly formatted font setup, whatnot cover, you need to be quick because there is only 24 in the world. So there we are. So that's the Downstream. So I had Walled City, and it got reasonably quickly followed by Beyond the Hills, which, this one was just such a nice one to write. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. But I knew that the story wasn't finished. So there we are. Hello, Sheila. Really glad you made it. I do apologise. Like I said earlier in the live stream, my Facebook decided to update just as I clicked on Go Live. So there we are. So I knew, I don't know, if you're all familiar with it. Obviously, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but Walled City was set in the city of Elabi, which has banned all belief and emotion, thinking it'll make for a good, smooth society. And then this young man comes in trying to bring the gospel message, a message of hope and faith, without getting himself sent to the punishment area called Beyond the Hills. So book 2 is in that area mainly, with the main character being Matsia. So there's Hax, which is the main character in Walled City, who becomes friends with a girl called Cecilia. And they have, Cecilia's got another friend called Matsia. So book 2 is really all about Matsia. So in book 3, I thought it would be fun to combine all 3 characters. So there's Hax, there's Cecilia, and there's Matsia. And in the first book, Walled City, as well as in Beyond the Hills, there is quite a lot of mention of Matsia's mother, who went downstream. So there were 3 areas. There's Elabi, the Walled City. There is Beyond the Hills, the punishment area. And then there is Downstream, which is the area where all the people go who are too old to contribute to society, or anyone who doesn't quite add up to society's standards. So it's called Downstream, and it's the thing. Now, Matsia had a little brother who got ill, and the mother left Elabi to go with the little brother to go downstream. So that was the end of that. So this book, guess where it's set? Very originally, it's set downstream. And it has all three main characters. So it's got Gax and Cecilia and Matsia. So there's quite a bit of tension between the girls, you know, and Max. So Gax, so they travel together downstream. And most of the book, or a big part of the book, is in a jungle. Now, I like settings and different settings with different feels. So I need a visual that I can base my story on, something I can picture. So during the lockdown, there were some like some virtual tours. So you could go traveling and it was live, and the tour guide showed you around the areas in like a live way. And one of them was on a lake in Bolivia, I think it is. You know, the big lake, I've forgotten the name now. Anyway, it had this really cool cliffside path with people working on little bits of land, little plots. And I liked it because it had the kind of weather I needed in the setting. So I used kind of a lake and that kind of hillside, but then at the back of the hillside, there is the jungle. And at the other end of the jungle is where they think downstream is. So it's all quite complex and it all got very much fun. My younger sister did a mud walk in the Netherlands. You can walk from the mainland to one of the islands and it's like a mud flat. You have to go with a guide and you have to buck up. If you're too slow, you get caught out. I think you have quite plenty of time, but still, you don't want to sit down and picnic in the middle of the mud flat. So I used some of that here where they had to cross a mud flat to get there. So that was fun. So that was the setting and the people. So as we are here, I am going to cut the cake. So here again is the cake, the Downstream cake, because I am just so relieved because this book has taken a very long time. Normally I write my books pretty quickly. This one has taken more than 2 years. Now I blame it on Goldie, our extremely adorable puppy, who does need quite a lot of input and mainly headspace. So we've had Goldie now for 2 years. And it was just the, you know, the way that my evenings went, you know. My children stay up longer because they go to cadets and scouts and guides and all kinds. And then there was a dog that needed training and being with and whatnot. And I just couldn't think straight. So, yes, Sheila, you're absolutely right. Those tours were fabulous. And in fact, some of the tours I have used for other books that I'm working on, like my Viking books. So, and you know, they were very inspirational, those tours. So yeah, so the writing, my writing slot disappeared, and I've now found other ways of writing, and there's ways around. So I'm really relieved to be back into writing because it's been such a blessing. And this story as well, you know, there's a group called Kingdom Story Writers that we are with, and it's a good way of looking at your writing where, you know, they're kingdom stories, aren't they? They're not just fantasy or imagination, but it's, again, it's what I call fiction with a message. So each book has a theme. And in this book, I thought personally that it was going to be about a mother's love. You know, there's the verse in Isaiah that, you know, can a mother forget her sucking child? Even if she does, I will not forget you, says the Lord. And I thought that would be the theme. And it was for some of the book, or it is really. But there's another theme just cropped up and completely took over. So that was exciting as well. I am just going to cut some cake because all this talking and looking at the cake is making me hungry. It is definitely time to celebrate. I know, Sheila, but for me, 2 years is never ending. I'm not very patient when it comes to writing. So there we go. I'm going to slice up some cake, and this time it is chocolate cake. I would love to share a piece with you, but you'll have to do it virtually. I'm afraid it has to be a virtual cake. Yes, Sheila. Sheila is saying that it's important for our stories to change lives and restoring lives through intimacy with God. You're absolutely right. And it's the one thing I find, even when you're writing the stories, in a way, you're answering your own questions and you're wrestling with matters of faith. And it's like in a bit of a clinical way, you can distance yourself a little bit from it, and it just makes it clearer, doesn't it? If you know what I mean. When your character goes through trouble, but you're not personally involved, so it's not as emotionally charged as when you're the one going through really hard things. And it's just a blessing to be able to think about, people's faith and their walk with God. And so I've always found the writing is helpful in a way that sometimes it just, channels your mind in a way where you can just keep on track, but also it makes some questions clearer. Well, I've got wine. I've got my favorite drink, which is a nice cheap Lambrini. I just love Lambrini. It's not as heavy as wine, but it is definitely nice and refreshing. And I'm just going to pour myself a glass because all this chattering has made me thirsty. So that's what I really enjoy with this story. And with this story, like I said, it took me longer to write it. It wasn't a chore, but it was much harder to find that slot to then write. And at one stage it really stopped, and I just really struggled, and I was like, oh, I need to write, I should write, I ought to write. And then I realized I had something wrong. So Hax meets an alligator, a crocodile, alligator, something like that in the jungle. So that all went a bit pear-shaped. But I made it go wrong a lot more, and that just removed the writer's block. So I was talking about this because my first book got published by Onwards and Upwards, and they've been very, very supportive and kind. And I was talking with one of them online in like an email exchange where she was talking about writer's block. And I said, well, I often find if I'm stuck in writing, it is because something in the story isn't right. Like one of the characters, it doesn't fit, or something happened. And that's exactly what I found with this one. The story didn't quite run. And then I realized it didn't run because, poor Hax, he had a hard time, but not that hard a time. So there we are. We changed the hard time into a much harder time, and all went well. So here we are to the new book. So that's why the delay came in. And then for NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, I decided to take part and try and go for it. And then this incident in the jungle happened. I sort of saw the incident coming, but the outcome of the incident was completely a surprise. I mean, I don't really plan my books very well. I have bits that I know will be in there, or I'll have like a theme that I know will be in there, but that's as far as we go. But this really took me by surprise, and it changed also the theme of the book. So it went really from a mother's love. A lot of it is now about the breath of life and about the Spirit of God working and changing. And it was so exciting because I was not expecting that at all. And the story, it was really moving and exciting for me. So that was really good. So I'd like to read a little bit where they have definitely a Panzer. Yes, I sort of plan a tiny bit, but I certainly don't plan chapters and things. So this is a bit, so they're still in the little village, and they know that they have to go through the jungle to get downstream where they hope Matsia's mother might be. So they then realize, once they get to the village, they realize that jungle is out of bounds. So they want to find out where the jungle is, exactly where the entrance is to the jungle, but it has to be done in secret. For the next few weeks, the three of them walk around most afternoons, even when it's wet. We have to, Hax explains. Otherwise, if we want to go further, they will be surprised to see us and check up on us. Cecilia isn't keen on walking, but has to admit the views are worth it, and she feels good after they get back to the house. I wouldn't normally walk this much for fun, she laughs, but coming home to a hot cup of mint tea and dry clothes has been lovely, although I wasn't sure about that last path. The path had been narrow, hidden almost, and Hax had hesitated to go in. Are you sure it's a proper path? Cecilia asked. In the end, they turned around after a few minutes. There was an odd quietness around them. The high grass felt like it was closing in on them, and all three had been relieved to get back onto the main path. Yes, that path felt menacing, Mattia says, looking at Hax. I thought it was just too overgrown to be of help. It was a bit spooky, though. Maybe we should take that path again sometime when it's better weather. It won't feel as dark and we're better prepared. Who knows where it leads to? The girls nod, but not enthusiastically. It does seem to go towards the jungle, Matsia has to admit. I wonder what kind of path it is. It seems too well kept for an animal track. She sighs. You're right, we must check it out. I can't say I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we should wait a while so as not to make the locals suspicious. Hax brings it up one sunny afternoon. Maybe today we should revisit that spooky path and see where it goes to. It's quite warm, so most people will be resting, and there's less chance of anyone seeing us disappear onto the track. We'll stay quiet and simply pray. He laughs at their faces. It was just a path. I don't think a path can be evil. That's left to people, I suppose. But we'll be careful and go slowly so we can keep our eyes and ears open. The path is darker and more sinister than in previous times, Cecilia is sure. I still don't think it's a good idea, she whispers, but follows the other two anyway. The path goes on forever, rising and dipping with the landscape, twisting a little but steadily going towards the back of the mountain, the side where the jungle is supposed to be. After a while they come to a small area, like a lay-by. There's a fallen tree without its bark, and Hax and Matsia drop down onto the makeshift bench. Cecilia declines a seat. I still don't like it here. And why is there a bench? This path must lead to something important. She swallows. Do you think it goes to the special place? The Gramuil? Hax looks around the cut-out area. Maybe. It would be a bit small for the elders and villagers to all come this way, though. Anyway, I could go on forever. Hello, Sarah. Thank you for coming. Thank you. So they obviously find the jungle eventually. But like I said before, it was a book that really did take me by surprise. I like it when that happens because, if you write something that you know how it goes, it's like writing a book and you've already read the last chapter. It takes the fun away. So I like sitting down and just seeing where the story goes. So there we are. So that was Downstream. And obviously I'm not working yet because I'm working on my Viking novel. But I'm thinking and plotting a fourth book, which will probably be set back in Elabi. And it will be with Matsia's stepmother. It might be in the hidden, for those of you who have read it, it might be in like the underground tunnels that happen in Beyond the Hills. I don't know. It's quite likely to go and be in there. So that's just a vague plan, but there will definitely be another book because things are happening in this book. So it was a really nice book to write. A couple of really fun characters, like a lad called Ryu, who becomes quite important during the book. And again, nice settings like the little village on the hillside, the jungle, and then a couple of other places. So that was really good fun. Now, a lot of my books, thanks go to Beverly, who I hope is still here. Now, Beverly does my editing and really makes the story into a book. And, she comes out with such good suggestions. So it's thanks to her that the groups that come later in the jungle, they have names. And it's just helpful, to have someone take your book apart and say, I don't think this works. Because it was written over, for me, a very long time. Some of the bits I got bogged down, especially in the jungle. We all just sort of, it got slower and slower. And often I don't know how to overcome that. So that's where Beverly comes in greatly. So that's the thing. So I don't know if there's any questions that people have. I always find it hard because obviously I don't want to give all the spoilers away. But I am excited because in about a month, Lindsay Adams from Reading Between the Lines has set up a blog tour for me. So people are reading the book now and getting ready to share. And I just love book tours because you get everyone's viewpoints and the way they look at it. And it's, people take different things away from a book. So I'm looking forward to that. But as I said, that's not till near the end of June. So keep an eye out on that because obviously it will be all over my Facebook page as well. So if there's any questions, just type them in the comments. I'm just going to make a bite of my cake. My children have just gone to bed. I'm sure Tineka's little girl would have liked them a bit longer. Hi Tineka, I can see you in there, I think. This is nice cake. I'm not actually into cakes, but this is good. It's also one of the things that I like when I'm writing, especially like the Elabi books, which, you can make them up as you go along because it's a fictional place. So some of it is, it's about their food and habits and things like that. So again, I enjoy bringing in different food. So again, because it's set on this mountainside, they grow, different things. Oh, that's okay, Sheila. But thanks for the offer anyway. I'm away myself actually for most of that. I'll be in the Lake District. I'm hoping it won't rain completely for 2 weeks, but it probably will, knowing the Lake District. I'll keep you a piece of cake, Tineka. Not a problem. We got the cake. The kids have been promised a bit of cake and a nice drink, not Lambrini. My kids are not having Lambrini. But they have a nice drink and I promised them a piece of cake in the morning. So I am sure we will keep you a piece because the cake is pretty big. And most times when we have the book launch, we are left with cake. So there we are. So you can, Northern Ireland. Oh, lovely. Oh, yeah, we went there not that long ago. And again, it's a perfect place for settings for books, isn't there? Because there's rural bits and there's tension and yeah, it's brilliant. Oh, thank you, Beverly. I just love the way that you can look at the story and go, no, that bit, don't have that bit there, or that needs this. And it just, I'm sitting there doing the edits that you suggested and I can just see the story getting so much better. I've already taken out most exclamation marks by the time you get it, but even so, there is still so much. And I sit and write and it comes out and I sort of know the message I would want to write down, the one that I feel, but to get it in the right words, that it's great. So I'm so glad for all the work you do and the way you take it apart and you're so patient. So I'm really grateful for your work. Oh guys, I really wish you would be here and share my cake. Bit like a monkey's tea party, but it is nice cake. So I hope you all have something to snack and a nice drink. So yeah, I wonder if I should read a little bit more. It's a tricky one because I don't want to read the bits that are the problem is that most of them, the exciting bits, they all have spoilers, haven't they? And we can't have that. That would be awful. People keep warning me about that. I don't know. Right. Yeah. I don't know. It was a book with quite a lot of turns and twists and things. Proofreading is really hard. Took me over your and Gemma's book. Oh, it is. It is so hard, Sheila, because, and I think, when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, and like I said before, sometimes I look at it and I'm not happy with the way the story is. Like, it's too slow, it's too boring, it's too waffly, but I don't know how to change it. And that's where, you need someone. And like I said, Beverly is great at it, saying that you need to change this way, you need to add that. And it's just, it makes it so, because when somebody else says it, you then see it, you think, oh, of course. But it's tricky, and, you look at it and I think, I've done a few books now, and I am now starting to find things that I'm like, oh, I've changed this. I hope you get to narrate an audiobook the way you... thank you. I really want to, mainly because one of my friends is quite dyslexic, so she prefers audiobooks. And I've been sort of thinking of it. And Brendan Comboy, who is part of the Cotswold Scribblers, and he sets up Book Blessed and everything, he has a studio, and he now helps authors to narrate their books. So I might well go for it and just spend a week sitting in a room reading out loud. I'm not sure how hard it is, because if what happens if you make a mistake? Does that mean you have to read like the entire chapter again? I'm not sure I'll have the patience to read each chapter 6 times. Not sure. So I'll have to speak to him about that, see how tricky it is, because I do like reading out loud. It's fun. But it would be nice to make them into audiobooks. That is a brilliant suggestion. So I will definitely look at that. Yeah, so it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you often have like an idea where you want the story to go, but the steps in between, it can be quite tricky. You don't want it to things. I'm still thinking, right. Maybe a little bit at the beginning bit, I don't know. That was the other thing I just spotted. I had to put ferrets in this book. I know, the little furry creatures, because we used to have regular chats with the ACW, the Christian Writers Group, and one of the friends in there, she has ferrets, and she would bring them out when we were having our chat, and we would all look at the ferrets, and she would play with them, and then they would sort of get put back. And I sort of promised her, like, oh, in the next book I'll put ferrets in the next book. So I had to stick to that, didn't I? So that's why the sort of slightly, well, completely random appearance of ferrets in the book. Mainly because, well, I mean, I had to, really. I'll see if I can find... Not sure where the thing is, where they get the ferret. I mean, it's, a lot of the writing you do by yourself, which is why it's such a nice hobby, really, because you can just do things. But there's also connections. So I just mentioned Book Blessed, where Brendan comes in. So he set up this Christian, like a book festival, and it's been great. I mean, it hasn't been busy, or, we'd love a much, much bigger crowd to come. He's changed the date, so it's now early in September. And with Brendan, I'm doing a talk on imposter syndrome, which will be great fun. But it's a lovely opportunity to share about your writing and the thought behind the writing and the message. Because as Christian writers, it can be quite tricky to find a good platform. Because, you're a much smaller group of people. So there we are. And this, Book Blessed it's a lovely initiative. So I'm really looking forward to September and sharing with you all there. So, hang on. Okay, so they start with the left part, right? Okay. So I found the one where they, okay, so they got in trouble. So here we go. We'll do a little bit further. Hax is stunned. They expect him to walk into the jungle tonight with his lungs on fire, his foot, who knows how bad his foot is. We might have to hide for the night and maybe a few days, he says, but Matsia shakes her head. Look, she breathes, we need to get going. It won't be long before a whole bunch of elders will come out of this door. With our heavy bags, we won't stand a chance. She sets off for the tree and the other two follow. Hax has his hands balled in fists, limping and fighting tears. Should he tell them how much she has been hurt? Will it change anything? The girls seem very determined to get out. Lord, he breathes, I suffered for your name, and the girls are just thinking of getting out, away from trouble, running into the jungle. His face is wet by the time they find their rucksacks. Thankfully, the ferrets make the little whiny noise they make when they think food is coming their way, or rather should be coming their way. Matsia chuckles. Good help us, she croons over their cage while struggling into her bag. She helps Hax and Cecilia and whispers to the latter, I'll go in front, shall I? You go to the back. I think Hax is upset about leaving, and he's limping as well. She can vaguely make out Cecilia nodding, so she turns towards the path and follows it slowly, not wanting to miss the turn. It is Hax who finds it, accidentally. He coughs and coughs, struggling to catch his breath, at the same time trying to muffle the sound as much as possible. The girls have to wait, and it is then that Matsia spots the small gap between trees, an old gate blocking their way. Cecilia, looking behind her, gasps, Quick, I can see lights. They'll be here in a minute, for they must guess this is one of the ways we could go, she hisses, nearly pushing Hax down the track. Hax doesn't seem to be in a hurry. They'll easily overtake us, he whispers. There isn't much point in running anywhere. Matsia looks at Cecilia and can see the girl's eyes widen in the faint light. She grabs Hax's arm. Let's go, she says. Keep praying and keep moving. We will do this. And she pushes the gate open. They follow the narrow track and within a few minutes reach a steep staircase. The steps are slippery in the cold air and they have to be careful not to lose their footing. Cecilia was relieved to see steps going down, but after a few minutes she realizes that going down steps is nearly as difficult as going up. The constant strain on her legs, coupled with a heavy rucksack, makes her feel exhausted before long. There is no sign of anybody following them, but they go as fast as they can. Just when Matsia thinks she can't possibly take another step, there is a little resting place, similar to the one along the path from the village. So that's them. I mentioned in the Society of Authors. Okay, Book Bless. Yeah, I know Book Bless is such a wonderful thing. So, yeah, I love building the tension and seeing them struggle and their characters coming out. And I always felt, from Walled City that Hax was quite enthusiastic and willing, but not really the strongest of character. So that was fun. He did not have a good time in Downstream. It was not his best time, poor thing. But it was fun. So are there any other questions or comments? Because we've been almost 45 minutes, almost 40 minutes. I'm just going to have a little bit more of my cake. Yeah, Book Blessed is a lovely initiative. And ACW is so supportive, and there's other things we try to do. Another one that we try to do is Cotswold Scribblers, where local Christian writers, we try to sort of get together, but it's quite hard because everyone is busy, and I'm sort of handed in charge, which was probably a bad thing to do. I should not be in charge of anything like that, but I am, kind of. So, you know, we don't always give people plenty of warning for the meetings, but it is nice to get together with other Christian authors, because the whole aim for writing is different from other writers. You know, you write from a completely different perspective. Oh, thank you, Beverly. You're welcome. I do like reading. It's a great activity, isn't it? I like reading out to the kids, and you end up with a very sore throat from doing all the funny voices, and but yeah, it's nice. It's great. Oh, well, thank you everyone for coming. I won't keep you too long, because there isn't really much more to share without giving any spoilers away, because I think once they started going into the jungle, it you know, picked up a little bit. You know, things happened. So there we go. Yeah, so there we are. So we have now got 3 books in the Elabi Chronicles, which is great. And like I said, I am plotting book 4, but it's a little bit in the future, because I'm in the start of the Viking novel called Viking Chasm, I think it's going to be, because she goes down this crack, like time. It's a time traveling novel, and that's great. That's great fun as well. And I got to chapter 18, then realised that again I wasn't happy with the character, because her very, very Christian background got completely left out. So I'm going back a bit. So there we go. But that's the Viking one. And then it might be book 4, or Borrowed needs a sequel, I realised, because there's the friend on the mainland and everything. So there's another one waiting to be done. And for a very long time, I've been thinking about a sequel to Sapphire Beach. So as you can tell, I just need more hours in my day. Maybe my kids should have their bedtime early again. Who knows? But anyway, Downstream is finally here. And like I said, if you order it anywhere now, you will get it with a proper font. It will all be capitals, and it will look much more fitting in with the other books. So thank you everyone for coming, and really, really thank you to anyone reading any of my books. I always feel you know, quite burdened to ask people, really, because you know, I enjoy the writing. It is such a blessing. Like I said, you know, you look at matters of faith and you see God's hand at work in places, and it's such a joy to do. So anyone then also reading it, that is such a bonus that I thoroughly enjoy. So thank you for coming and sparing this time. And like I said, I hope you had something nice to eat and had a nice drink. And yeah, keep an eye out for the book tour, and I hope to see some of you soon and have a good catch up. So thank you so much for coming, and have a lovely evening. God bless.